Ready? Are you watching? Brace yourself. Woohoo! G'day guys, welcome to the best Makita review channel on YouTube, as voted by a few people down in the comment section on a previous video. Today we are looking at the Makita X-Lock grinder, the DGA519. I can't find an equivalent model in America, but there are two X-Lock models available, the XAG25 and the XAG26. The 25 surprisingly has no brake and is a slide switch style like this, and it has no variable speed dial. The XAG26 is a pedal switch like this and does come with an electronic brake, but also no variable speed dial. This down under version, you can see, does have a variable speed dial. I'm going by the Makita US website for those stats, so they might be wrong. Let me know down below if they do in fact have variable speed dial or any of the other features that they say are or are not there. I think I need to clear this workbench off before we go any further. So let's start off with, what is X-Lock? X-Lock is a disc attachment system that Bosch came up with. If you have a look here, you'll see this is a little bit different to a standard disc or wheel. Old school, they just have a 22.23mm hole or 7/8 of an inch. This is also 7/8 of an inch, but as you can see, it has some weird cutouts as well. That is so you can do this. Disc on, bang, done, ready to go. No having to tighten anything up. It is good to go. Now, Bosch invented that. Makita have licensed it from them, and they have started to produce grinders now with X-Lock. Don't worry, you can still get standard grinders as well. As far as I'm aware, Makita and Bosch are the only two companies currently doing X-Lock grinders, and Makita haven't released it yet on the 40 volt system. They've just got the 18 volt ones. Down in this part of the world, in New Zealand, we only have this one model. This model comes with a pedal switch, as you can see there, a variable speed dial which goes from 1 through to 5, 1 being 3000 RPM, 5 being 8500 RPM. There is a handy little chart here on the side as well to tell you what the different speeds are for the dials. And of course comes with a side handle. That is about all there is to it, being a grinder. But the reason you buy this grinder is because of this. There we go, you saw how easy it was to get on, and that was how easy it is to get off. Disc on, pull the lever on the top, disc off. That simple. So that can save a lot of time trying to hunt around, finding a spanner so you can get your nut on and off to get your disc on and off. But for a lot of guys, myself included, we don't actually use those anyway, you just do it by hand. But that can be a bit tricky when you've ground down to a little nub and you just want to get that last little bit off. With this, nice and easy, bang. Is this system going to take over? Time will tell. I imagine some of the other companies will start getting on board. Depends on how much Bosch is charging them to do it, of course. So on this end of the grinder, it does have a toolless guard. You can just swivel it around like that just by pushing the lever on the side here. Makita's new grinders are finally coming with that system. So when it comes to the discs and grinding wheels, etc., you cannot fit this on here. Won't fit over. You need those little cutouts to get it on. But if you are using X-Lock grinding discs and you don't have an X-Lock grinder handy, but you've got that disc, you can still use these on an old-fashioned grinder like this. They still fit on the same size. It still has that 7/8 of an inch or 22.2223, whatever it is. It still fits on exactly the same, locks on exactly the same. So no biggie if you have a bunch of these and you still want to use them on a standard grinder. But unfortunately, not the other way around. Heaps of guys will say I don't need X-Lock because I can just do it like that. And yeah, that's how I do it, and yeah, it only takes a few seconds. It doesn't take that long to change a disc over, like so. Boom, 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 and done, ready to go. That doesn't take that long. So you're not going to save a huge amount of time, but when you get one jammed on one of these, it can be a bit of a pain if you haven't got anything nearby to get it off, whereas with this one, you won't have a problem. But of course you do have the risk of that mechanism crapping out on you. I don't know just how reliable these are. I haven't heard of any problems with them yet, but there is a lot of moving parts there, of course, compared to just a spindle with a thread on it. Then again, I guess you can stuff a thread as well, so there's also nothing to lose here. You're not going to drop your nut and it's going to roll off into the mud or fall in a puddle and you can't find it. And it may even be a safety issue on certain sites where you could drop it from a height. With this, you won't drop your nut, although you might fire your disc off. So I've done a few cuts with this thing over the last week or so, and it's a nice grinder, I like it, but how does it compare to a 40 volt? We're going 5 amp hour versus 5 amp hour. I was about to make my cut with a 40 volt and I see it's actually only a 1mm, not a 1.2. I just saw the 1 and the 2 there and damn it. So I hunted around looking for some old 1.2s, but all I've got is these scabby half-used ones, which might not get through my entire cut. So what do, guys? So do I put the 1 up against the 1.2 that is on the X-Lock, or do I go, oh well, seeing as they're different, bugger it now, I might as well put a 0.8 on and see how much quicker we can still do it with a 40 volt tool. What do you reckon? Tick, 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 tick. I think I'm going to go with the thinner one. Why not? So 0.8mm versus 1.2. Leave your complaints down below. This video is everything. The discs aren't going to keep some people happy, the batteries aren't going to keep some people happy, and they're two different voltage tools. Oh, so much to complain about. Go for it. Whack away. Now when it comes to the accessories with X-Lock available, where I went to get my usual stuff, they have hundreds of different sorts of discs, but when it comes to X-Lock, I think they only had these cutting discs, the grinding wheel, and they may have had a concrete cutting one as well. But you can get all the other sort of attachments, flap wheels, concrete grinding cups, these wire cups like this. You can get all of these in X-Lock. They are likely to cost you a bit more. You will pay a premium, certainly at the moment, because presumably someone that makes these, like Makita for instance, has to pay a little bit of the money from it to Bosch, so there's a bit of a premium there. The technology's new, so you pay a bit more. Once they become more popular, I imagine the prices will drop and they'll be pretty much the same as the standard discs. When I first saw these X-Lock grinders, I thought, how are they going to work with these things like these wire cups that have the big long thread on them? They're heavy units, but they're secured quite well on a standard grinder because they have the big thread area. When it comes to an X-Lock grinder, it's only attached by that thin little piece of metal there. So that is exactly the same as the grinding wheel there, as you can see. In fact, the grinding wheel one is fractionally thicker. But when you take a look at a standard grinding wheel, you're clamping onto the full meat of the thickness of the disc, which in this case is 6mm, or about 1/4 of an inch. So it's a lot more meat you're hanging on to. So I was a little bit concerned when I saw that on the disc there. But there is a large area behind the disc. So with that large area behind, the wheel won't tilt or anything like that. They seem to be fairly secure, but we'll give it a grinding test in a moment. Is there anything else to say about the grinder? Oh, they do come with the removable vent covers, like they all seem to come with these days. This model comes with a brake. It's a very good brake. 2 positions for the handle, no position on the top. Part of that may be due to the fact that X-Lock gets in the way, although Makita have never really put them on the top for these small grinders anyway. It also comes with the battery gauge on the tool, which is quite interesting because I thought they had dropped that now. Seeing as most people now have batteries with the fuel gauge on them. As you can see, 40 volt does not come with a battery gauge on it, although of course all 40 volt batteries will have a gauge on them, unlike older Makita LXT 18 volt batteries. Right, stall test time. I've got a 5 amp hour battery on each tool. They've just both come off the chargers. The X-Lock is on its highest setting, setting 5 on the dial. Let's see how easy or not they are to stall. And to all of those who say, it's not fair, you're putting an 18 volt tool up against a 40 volt. What is your problem, man? I'm comparing tools to show you what the differences are. Not fair? How long have you been on planet Earth? Well, the 40 volt smashed it still. It is a very good tool when it comes to stalling, pretty hard to stall. The 18 volt one was pretty hard as well, but a bit easier than the 40 volt. I would have liked to test it against an 18 volt one, but I sold my previous 18 volt model to this guy.
Rob T here, welcome back in the shop.
Which may have been a death sentence for the poor grinder considering what he did to my sander.
Oh, wow.
Anywho, it definitely felt a lot harder to stall than what I remember stalling that one. It is a good grinder and I am liking it. This one doesn't have variable speed. You can hear that extra power though on the 40 volt, eh? Let's take a look at the weight. Guard on, handle off, no battery. That's good. Happy with that. 2045-ish. By comparison, the 40 volt, 2145, so 100 grams heavier for the 40 volt, and it doesn't have the variable speed area at the bottom there. It's the first generation 40 volt, first one that came out, and that there is something that the 40 volt can't do. It can stand on its end. 40 volt's got that weird angle, so no chance of that. I am really beginning to like this X-Lock. It's very cool. If you look carefully here, you'll see that these are actually different shapes. The point there isn't on that side, so those two are the same, these two are the same. And if you have a look at the discs, you'll see that the angles and stuff are slightly different. That means you can only put it on the one way. Prevents you from accidentally putting a disc in any other orientation. Won't go that way around. Will only go that way. Now you will have seen that this did not cut anywhere near as fast as the 40 volt, but that's to be expected really. I never thought it would. But it is a very good 18 volt grinder and much better than my old DGA 504 Makita grinder. But it's really all about that. These cutting discs, by the way, seem to last pretty damn good. A lot better than I thought it would. I did quite a lot of cutting with that disc and it's still going strong, so quite surprised there. The thinnest disc I've seen so far is a 1mm Bosch one. That one there that you just saw was a 1.2mm Makita. Now, as I said earlier, the blades are a lot more expensive, but I'm thinking it might save you money because you only need one grinder. Now, some people aren't going to understand this, but a lot of us, myself included, use multiple grinders for things. So you'll have one grinder with your cutting wheel on, you'll have another grinder with a grinding wheel, you might have another one with one of these flap wheels, so you don't have to keep changing discs, cutting wheels, etc. With this, because it's so fast, you can just have a few other attachments laying around, just pop it off, chuck the next one on, and bang, away you go. So it does kind of cut out the need to have multiple grinders. You could do everything with the one grinder quite easily and very quickly. So I'm liking it for that reason. And like I said earlier, if you've still got old grinders, you can still use these new discs on the old ones. So I'm beginning to fall for this system, and hopefully it won't be too long before they put out a 40 volt max XGT X-Lock grinder. I don't know if they have to pay per grinder for the use of the system, or whether they've paid some giant fee that covers everything. Who knows? I don't know. If you know about that, let me know. They may just be trying it out on the 18 volt platform first, see how well it sells before they invest in putting it into the 40 volt. Who knows? So let me know what you think of the X-Lock if you have used it. Are you a convert? Are you sold on the idea? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know down below. If you want to see my full review of the 40 volt grinder, it'll be up in the corner up here and down in the description. I have a ton of 40 volt Makita stuff coming up, and I've already done a ton. I did this battery review, which hopefully was up last week or a few days ago or something, or maybe it's about to be up, who knows. We look at all the 40 volt batteries in that particular video. I must have over 50 Makita reviews on the channel by now, so please consider subscribing if you're a Makita nut or a tool nut in general, because I do heaps of other brands, DeWalt, Milwaukee, Hikoki, Metabo, etc. And I have another channel up in the corner up there as well, down in the description. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on another one soon. And until then, keep on grinding. Yeah, keep on grinding. Grind is a dodgy word these days, isn't it? Gonna take a look at that soon too.